how the Balafon became a bridge between worlds. In a village nestled beside a vast golden savanna, where the earth kissed the sky and the great river flowed endlessly, lived a young man named Kofi. Known for his skill as a woodworker, Kofi crafted everything from tools to everyday objects, each piece infused with the spirit of the land. Yet, despite his talent, there was one thing Kofi had always dreamed of creating: a balafon, the sacred wooden xylophone that had been passed down through generations. The balafon, an instrument of great reverence, had stood in the village for centuries. It was more than just an object of beauty. It was a symbol of connection, a bridge between the earthly realm and the spirit world. The melodies that resonated from its keys were believed to carry the voices of the ancestors, allowing the living to communicate with those who had passed on. The villagers revered the balafon as a sacred instrument, its music carrying the power to bring wisdom, peace, and guidance. However, despite its revered place in the village, Kofi had never crafted a balafon himself. The secret of how to make one had been lost to time, and the elders kept the knowledge tightly guarded. Kofi had always longed to create a balafon, but he knew that without the guidance of the ancient teachings, his task would be impossible. Determined to uncover the mystery of its creation, Kofi decided to embark on a journey to the sacred forest, a place said to hold the wisdom of the ancestors. The forest was deep and shrouded in mystery, with dense fog creeping between towering trees. Strange sounds echoed from the depths, and the air was thick with the whispers of the unseen. As Kofi ventured deeper into the forest, he came across an old woman sitting beneath an enormous tree. She had eyes that glowed like the moon, a presence that seemed to blend with the forest itself. She was Aso, the keeper of the forest's secrets. "You seek to craft the balafon, child?" Aso asked, her voice soft and knowing. "You must listen to the forest. The wood you carve will not sing unless it hears the voices of the spirits. The key to making the balafon is not in the hands, but in the heart." Kofi, confused but intrigued, sat down beneath the ancient tree, closing his eyes and listening intently. The air around him was alive with sounds: the rustling of leaves, the distant calls of birds, the whisper of the wind. Days passed as Kofi sat in silence, absorbing the forest's rhythm. He began to understand that the balafon was not merely an object to be shaped from wood. It was a living connection to the world of the spirits. The wood spoke to him in its own way, and he realized that to carve it correctly, he needed to attune himself to the life force flowing through the trees. After what felt like an eternity, Kofi returned to the village, carrying a balafon of his own making. The villagers gathered around, their faces filled with skepticism. As Kofi struck the first note, something extraordinary happened. The sound resonated deep within the earth, sending ripples across the river. The music of the balafon filled the air, and for the first time, the villagers could feel a presence in the melody. It was as if the music had awakened something deep within the land itself. The river, once a barrier separating the village from the unknown, now seemed to bridge the two worlds, the living and the spirits. As Kofi continued to play, the sky above shifted, and faint, glowing figures appeared among the stars. The voices of the ancestors seemed to echo through the balafon's notes, offering wisdom, guidance, and protection to those who listened closely. The villagers, awestruck, understood that this instrument had become something far greater than a mere tool. It was a conduit to the spirit world, a connection that could transcend time and space. From that day forward, the balafon became more than an instrument. It became a sacred bridge. Every note played was a step toward unity, a reminder of the deep bond between the living and the ancestors. The villagers came to understand that the path to the spirit world was not only through rituals and prayers, but through the music that connected them to the very heartbeat of life itself. Years passed, and Kofi, now an elder, sat by the river with a young apprentice at his side. Together they played the balafon, the music weaving through the air, binding the village to the land and to the ancestors who had gone before. Kofi had learned that the true power of the balafon was not in its sound alone, but in the harmony it created between the worlds, the earthly and the spiritual. The balafon, once a mysterious and sacred instrument, had become a bridge between worlds, carrying with it the wisdom of the past and the hopes of the future. Through its melodies, the villagers learned that wisdom is not always found in the noise of the world, but in the quiet spaces between the notes, where the spirit of life itself